Ah, shite. Mr. Billman, I should say Billman. It's not really Billman, there's no double L there, I just realised. But with the tiny fonts that I use, relative to my vision capability, all this time I thought it was Bill. But it is not. So it looks like another wrong thing today. Fantastic. Right, let's get the battery out of this one. I have a horrible feeling this one is genuinely fire trucked. Six Gills, Boss, Andrew, Travis, Magazine Blazing, Stuart, Kenny. Now the reason why I'm pretty much straight away thinking this is trucked is because we've got corrosion right in the CPU sort of area. Phantasmagorical. And yeah, today's been a bit... today didn't start well at all. I should rather say it sort of didn't start well at about 4 o'clock this morning. Hey, B-Blood, Civlup. Hey, Civlup, haven't seen you for a while. Been around, or have I just not been noticing you? Or what's going on there? You have to... Do you have a excuse note for why you've been away? Stuart Menzies, yeah, having one a week's not good. You try to minimise them to one a lifetime. And usually make it the last day. Hey, Gary Hampson? Well, I'm about to start complaining about my day. It won't change anything, of course. And it's ungrateful of me in many ways to complain, because certainly there are many people who have a far worse situation than anything I'm dealing with. But sometimes it's nice to just, have a bit of a vent off, express your frustrations so that you can pack them away and get on with things, because ultimately you still got to get on with everything, so yeah, that's the way it goes. No, I've been around Civlup. I think maybe YouTube's been messing with the notifications. I know a lot of people haven't been getting notifications. I can tell because I used to get 300 to 500 viewers on a live stream. In the last few months it's just been... I'm lucky to make 100. Most nights I don't even make 100 anymore, so I don't know what's going on. Clearly I upset the YouTube gods. It's a dramatic change from the 400 or 500 that I was getting. Oh well, it's just the way it goes. It's not like you can change it. Hey Josh, DJ, hey Wes. But yeah, so around about 4 o'clock this morning I was finishing up for the night. I sit down and I see that PayPal had decided that with a recent dispute, someone who bought my software, they decided to favour the person who bought the software, which was very frustrating. And so I've appealed the decision, because it's the same thing as always. People just think that they're going to get board views and schematics, which I don't know how they do that, considering the instructions they've got to go through in order to be able to get the PayPal button to even activate on my site. But clearly they do. And anyway, so that was fun enough, and I've been through this dance before. We'll see how we go, see if I step on my toes again. If it works out that I've lost this one, then okay, I've lost 1 out of probably 10 over the 5 years. We're still here for you. Well, that's sweet. And I went to Twitter, and because Twitter works well for getting PayPal's attention, I have found. So it's useful to stir things up a little bit, and they respond a bit quicker. And then, unfortunately, it became, well, a person took the opportunity to notify me that I had missed the last couple of emails they had sent asking for something. And of course, legitimately it was, I had taken too long. I think it was from November 4th. They purchased a copy of my software. And, it was wrong of me to not be getting back so quick. It's just the usual sort of thing happens. You're about to get started on something and then the phone rings or something happens in the house and you've got to race off and things like that. So, yeah, things got out of control and it's taken almost a month for me to send the bit of information that they wanted. And so they called me out on Twitter, and fair enough, because I'm doing the same thing with PayPal and whatnot. But there was a little bit of a twist in it, and I sort of didn't appreciate it. But I get it. They were not happy with my behaviour, my tardiness, and rightfully so. So I kind of have to take that on the chin. But turning that unfortunate scenario, because I don't like to let people down, but sometimes it happens. Crap goes wrong, and someone is left holding the doo-doo grenade and it blows up, and I get it. I'm not trying to deny that I was in the wrong there. Anyway, so to turn that little storm cloud into something better, what I'm going to be doing is, to prevent future such situations, I will be updating my website purchase process to provide what it was that they were after by default. So then I should never again have one of those scenarios coming up, because that was part of the reason why I kept delaying so much. It's not because I didn't, not that I didn't want to give it to them, it's just that the process to do what I needed takes a while. It takes about 10 minutes to set everything up. And so finding 10 minutes can be tricky. Obviously, you've seen me even on these streams at midnight having to be yanked out and go save something. Anyway, so I'm going to make it so that the website does it all automatically, so that should never happen again. But it is unfortunate that I've sort of sullied my perception in someone's eyes, but there's only so much I can do, and it's no excuse to not try and do your best, but it is a reality too. Or you start a motor in a car, nuggets up, and you get locked out of your house, sit outside for 3 hours. Oh, wow, that's fun. Yeah, no good there. Twitter's not a real place. Hey, Royal, Glasgow. Alright, so this is really being coffee damaged, and that's wrecked. Hopefully the trackpad. No, the touch bar's been damaged. That's not going to be good. It's not good because if it goes through the security update, we're stuffed. Yeah. Yeah, I'm still not pleased about the PayPal situation, and a lot of people naturally will, and a few of you now will be thinking, well, this is why you should change to a different provider. PayPal sucks, blah blah blah. But you have to realize that I've been with PayPal the last 20 years, and this is the very first dispute that hasn't actually gone my way, and certainly the first one with Flexboard View, particularly since I've added all the preventative measures to try and weed out the people trying to do this crap. So I'm trying to get to the bottom of why PayPal decided in this particular instance to side with the buyer, especially considering that in the conversation that I had with the buyer, they basically informed me that it was because of the lack of board view files. And then I said, well, that's fine, it's not part of the sale that I make, but send me an email, send me a support email, and I can resolve this for you, give you a few pointers on where to find what you're looking for, because I'm fairly sure I know what you're looking for. But no, so their behavior makes me think that they're really just a scammer. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're legitimately just frustrated and it didn't work perfectly out of the box and they want a refund. But unfortunately with software, and part of the terms and conditions is that there's no refunds on software licenses. Good luck trying with Microsoft. The best you can do with Microsoft Windows is if you can prove you haven't even turned on the machine or anything like that. So I think there's only been 1 or 2 people who managed to do that successfully. And I'm trying to think now. What was my point I was trying to make? Oh yeah, on the purchased process, it says go use Open Board View. Try Open Board View. See if that works for you. If it does, great. Then consider buying Flexboard View. But don't buy the software on the whim that it's going to magically make everything right and it's going to fix everything and it's going to have everything. Because you haven't applied due diligence then. And so therefore, if you buy it, that's on you. It shouldn't be my fault. Anyway, the world's not fair, but I'm going to fight for it. Even though it's not a massive amount of money in the grand scheme of things, but it's still $179, and that still makes a difference to my weekly budget. So yeah, if I get that $179, you bet I'm going to fight for it, especially if you get a license out of it. So anyway, how expensive electricity in Australia? Well, these days 60 minutes is probably not a good resource, but I pay about 29 Australian cents a kilowatt hour, and that's probably around about the most expensive in Australia. Alright, so we've got this dreadfully coffee-stained board. Ah, man, it's gone onto the underside as well. My biggest fear here is that the CPU is cactus. Most of the electricity is really expensive and going to get more expensive type stories that you see are going to be driven by the Murdoch Media Group, and it's their way of trying to inhibit the adoption or the investment into the renewable industry. Yeah, just by fear-mongering and things like that. They're doing a pretty good job, but the trouble is what they're finding is that a lot of investors and larger companies are just ignoring what they're saying. They're just going ahead. You know, companies that you wouldn't think would invest in it, even though there's very limited government support. The government in Australia just does not want renewables. They're trying everything they can. Yeah, they're taking away any sort of support schemes, everything. But yeah, the money still keeps rolling in for those projects in spite of the fear-mongering. So yeah, they're trying everything they can to derail it. Yeah, Catherine, it is. You're right. That's exactly right. It's still a good amount of money. That is probably the amount of money required for my the fur kids for food every week. Yeah, and I'm not in any way in a destitute situation or anything like that at all. But it's the principle of the matter and the fact that 179 is still 179. Can you block the license? Not with the current versions of Flexboard View. I can't block it actively. Okay, one of the big things that I tried to do with Flexboard View is, which was foolish, I suppose some might say, is I try to trust the community in general. I mean, realistically, there's a lot of licenses out there, and I only got 2 or 3 that are problems. So, in terms of the future, yes, any future updates, they'll be blocked out. But if they stick with the one they've got, they can use it indefinitely. Hey, Greg. And I will also be deactivating it if they I haven't done it yet because I'm still waiting for the PayPal appeal, and I don't want to have to do it. I just don't understand the situation, given that I understand their original complaint if it was legit, and the resolution is very simple, but if they are using that as a front, then we're going to have a problem. So, like I say, I want to have faith that it was just simply they're frustrated, it didn't work how they wanted straight away. I get that, you spend a fair bit of money on a product, you have perception of how you anticipate it's going to go when you buy it, and if the reality does not live up to that, you tend to want to sort of I know I'm like that. You tend to want to just like throw the baby out with the water and just say, that's it, take it back, I want my money back, sort of thing. But yeah, it's so I can understand, but at the same time, it would have been nice to at least have received one email regarding the situation. Just one. Just one email. Just say, hey, look, I bought your software. I can't seem to find any board views or schematics for it. What's the deal? And if then I told them to go kick rocks and it wasn't helpful or anything like that, then fine. Yeah, I can understand if they put a PayPal dispute in. But to actually just go from buying it to PayPal dispute immediately, that basically is sort of in a violation of the PayPal terms in many ways. Oh man, I got that splotch there. Yeah, it's in my left. Damn it. I got a splotch on the Barlow. Anyway, not approaching the seller first to try and resolve it outside of PayPal is usually the first bad thing. Okay, fine. They did put in a resolution request, and then what happened is we sort of went back and forth. They weren't happy about the fact that it costs that much money and there were no board views and schematics. And I said it's clearly stated that this is not included with it. And then from that point, they just stopped talking to me. And we were approaching 2 or 3 days from the deadline, and I wasn't sure how PayPal would respond to that falling over the deadline without myself trying to do more to resolve it. So I escalated it to PayPal and said, look, I don't want this to, by default, fall into the buyer's favor, so can you please have a look at this? Anyway, yeah. Let's see, how often does it happen? Not very often. Not very often at all. I think there's probably only been about 6 or 7 of those in the entire time I've been selling Flex Board View. Most of them were right at the start, when there was, all the perception that, a stronger perception that this is what came with it. Most of that comes from things like ZXW and whatnot being supplied with the board views and schematics, which is, like I said, legally I just cannot do it. If I do that, I will be out of business very quickly. Hey Jason. Yeah, actually, yeah, you should all go to Jason's website. Yep, and yeah, I agree entirely. Let's see, Stuart Menzies. I had the same problem when I used to sell modded PS3s. I repaired what would happen with your modded PS3s? Would they buy them and then complain that they weren't unfettered genuine or something like that? We may have to end up replacing this. Notice how that pin there is all rusted out. Andrew Hughes, I just put a new gas soldering on. Didn't come with any gas, solder or flux. Oh yeah, you're up the creek now. Well, yeah, this is 80-20 mix. Because it's coffee that I'm dealing with, I need the 20% water in there, and that dislodges a lot of the coffee. If I try to go at it with IPA only, it does nothing to the coffee. The coffee just looks at it and says, you have no power over me. I will not become part of your solution. Whereas you throw some water in there and it's like, I'm on board. Hey Harold, how's it going? Like I said, it's a perception thing, and yeah, that can be very powerful, and at the same time it can be very problematic, because it can be difficult to change that thing. Like I said, existing packages like ZXW, foam board, what Easy Draw, whatever they all came bundled with stuff because they were able to skirt the legal arm, or dodge the legal arm of Apple, whereas I can't, because I'm a proper business, officially declared and everything sort of stuff in Australia. And Apple can just sort of go, well, we don't like this one, eliminate him, and they'd have all the legal recourse to do so. Yeah, so what I'm doing here is vaguely hoping that this isn't a dead CPU. I'm just trying to clean up the MOSFET drivers, in the hope, I should say controllers, not drivers. They do have drivers in them, but they are themselves actually controllers. Okay, the PS3s, they complained they didn't come with any games. When I clearly stated they would not be supplied due to piracy. Yeah. Yep, fun and games. And the trouble is that most of the people handling the complaints, with eBay or whatever, they understandably are not equipped to understand all the aspects of all the markets. So often you'll get a ruling against you simply because the person doesn't understand what it is explicitly that you're selling. A good example of this is that for a while, for the first couple of sales that got disputed, PayPal thought that I was selling a physical product, and they'd be like, well, can you just provide proof of shipment and things like that to appease the customer, to resolve the situation. And I said, I can't, because it's not a physical product. I said, I can prove that they downloaded it though, and I can show that they installed it. And so once I managed to get a hold of some people in PayPal and they re-evaluated it, they went, oh right, yeah, okay, fine, and then they ruled in my favor. So yeah, the big problem is trying to get someone in the appeals system who understands what you're actually doing. Yeah, this is fun and games. This coffee has definitely gone multiple places. So I'm not yet bothering to bring out any soldering iron or hot air stations or anything yet. And that leads me to the next. I hate my life. Well, not really, but I actually do like my life. But the next damn you day sort of situation. The customer informed me they've got an iPhone 7. It just went black, and they just want their data off it. And I thought, oh, all right, fair enough. Could be anything. It could be a shorted cap or whatever. It turns out that some prior technician did a sloppy job with the reinstall, and they would damage the backlight filter, and subsequently, after a bit of time, it completely died. I fixed the backlight filter, it all comes up, and it says this phone is locked. And the reason why it's locked is because while the backlight was out, the person would not have realized that the phone itself was still active, the touch was active, and subsequently they were, just by handling it, they were putting in false passcodes. And naturally, it took too long to get here, and as a consequence, it's fully locked out. And so that's very annoying, because it was finally a fairly straightforward phone fix. The filter's blown, great, easy fix. That should have been $130, $140 job, and the customer should have been happy with all their data. Instead, nobody's happy. Can a lock phone? Well, that's the next thing. Ideally, you should be able to, say, go into 3U tools, update to the latest iOS, and it should give you one more chance to put in your passcode. And it did. It lets me put it in. And I thought, yeah, and it goes restoring data. But then when it finally boots again and it says press home button to, set up, and it asks you for the passcode again, the passcode never works. It, for some reason, something goes wrong, and it either intentionally butchers the passcode or whatever, but you can't get past that point. Hey, CD. Yes, it has been a while. You've been off living your own life, have you? Do you need to clean up those pads there? Bit of grime on those test points, and it can cause a world of weirdness. Fortunately, the ultrasonic usually sorts that out. A Mac Pacino board. That's actually quite hard to say. And then I spent the better part of this afternoon fixing up the kitchen because we had one of those. Oh, I think I spoke about it last night. We've got a flip mixer in the kitchen, like most people do, and almost all of them, as far as I know, they have flexi hoses taking the water up into them. Anyway, we had one of those bursts last night, and I had to shut it down and whatever. And I replaced it today, but that took a lot longer than usual, which is to be expected. And of course, you always, when you're finished, there's always that one join that has a very slow drip, and so you got to shut everything down again, go through and do it all once more. Anyway, so I sorted that out. But the real drama is the fact that because of how do I put this without, let's see, if you know anything about cat pee, is that it stinks. And if you miss where a cat may have peed, it stinks for a day or two, and then it goes silent, so to speak, on the nose. But then when water is unleashed on it again, there are the crystals in that cat urine that then just replenish the scent. And I am embarrassed to say, but it's pretty bad up there. So it's been quite distressing to feel like, that things have gotten that bad up there. And I mean, we usually are pretty good on getting on top of these things, but it seems to have gotten out of hand. It knocks you out almost. Anyway, so tomorrow I'm going to go out, get one of the pressure cleaners. I'm also going to get a pump spray system, and then I'm going to fill that up with enzyme cleaner. And we're just going to have to rip out the whole kitchen. It is really bad. Blacklight doesn't seem to work for some reason. I think it may be because the actual nanometer type of blacklight is different compared to, say, what we're using here for the cast. Anyway, the other problem is because the concrete is porous and stuff like that, if you're not onto it quickly, it will retract back into the, and so you can wash it over, but it doesn't come out. You've always got that residue at the back there. I've actually seen that, young Robert. I have seen stuff like that. Anyway, so so I think I'm going to go get a pressure cleaner, and then one of those garden pump poison type spray assemblies, and I'm just going to drench. It's all we can do. We're just going to drench. The kitchen is due to be ripped out when we get the tiles. It's going to be a full refit, but we would like to actually have it clean now too. So it's it's distressing. See, the big problem is that we have strays coming in, and then we've the stress. We had people here for a long time, squeezing the rear. It made a very difficult scenario overall, and now we're dealing with the legacy of that scenario of the 2.5 odd years where things were not ideal. And so every time also, whenever the stray tries to get in or gets in, or one of the foster cats gets in, it triggers one of ours to go and mark. And we try to keep on top of it, but it's a battle we sort of feel like we're losing at the moment. which is why I'm doing the new fence, so that we can genuinely lock them all out and make our inner sanctum safe. Because until we do that, it's just going to be something that keeps repeating. So anyway, yeah, tomorrow more expenditure. Cannot seal. Unfortunately, even if you seal it with paint, short of enamel, I imagine, yeah, it'll seep into acrylic as well. Catherine, that's yeah, that's really difficult. How's she go with the washing in general? Does she cope with it? Is she used to it? Because I know, say, like when I was giving Micro his diabetic insulin injections initially, he was not happy about it. But now he's okay. He just sort of goes, oh yeah, that time of the day today, twice a day. Use bleach? Yeah, we do use bleach. We typically have been bleaching. The trouble with bleach, I mean, we will be using it. The trouble with bleach, of course, you have to be careful for the fact that the ammonia breakdown byproduct can actually trigger your cats to start peeing more. Better to use JJ's disinfectant fluid. I'll have to have a look at that. Okay, Harold, thanks very much for dropping in. I do appreciate it. Hopefully I'll do a better video on your MagSafe Detector 2 tester. Micro is my online... Oh, yeah, I'm going to have a hard time calling you that, sorry. Alright, so yeah, it's very embarrassing. We do not feel comfortable at all with the scenario. We don't want to live like that. But for a long time we've essentially had our hands tied, and now that our hands aren't tied, we've got a colossal thing to deal with. She gets better with it. Oh, that's good. That's good. Let's see, I'm just going to do a continuity test on this cap here, because with this particular model, the 1814 or whatever it is, this section here, this cap, and sometimes one of these, will almost always be shorted after a few years. And at this point it's okay, but I can see it's starting to develop the problem. It's because of where it's located. Yeah, you can see it's starting to get eaten away, and in a few months or a year that will short and take out the main board. She does not like it, but she does not jump out of the sink anymore. So hopefully over time she'll actually start to like it. It's a lot of waffling, a lot of ranting and venting. Try to say both words at the same time. That's always fun. And like I said, I'm not trying to call out the person that's going to make me do the changes to my sales system or anything like that. I understand their frustration, so I'll try and make my website better for that. But yeah, I guess you can just call it personal punishment for my slackness. But I guess I've been juggling a great many balls, and sometimes you do drop them. 1.7, we need ohms mode here, because this is just going to squeal no matter what. And we do have plenty of kitty litters in the house, believe me. 1.7, that's actually okay, 1.7. So it's not due to lack of available facilities they also have outside, it's just the situation they got boxed into. Oh, hey baby.
He's just crying.
Oh, he's crying for me, is he? Ah, sorry about that. I was hoping you'd get some sleep, but you can put him down and I'll look after him. Come on, Momo. Hey, what you doing? Oh, you want that bug? That's a stink bug. That will truly, utterly stink like anything if you touch that. So, say hello to everybody. Hey, Momo. Mo, what are you doing? You gotta look at the camera, dude. You gotta make eye contact. Eye contact, it's important. People won't believe you otherwise. Yeah. Nope. No. Oh, right, okay. You're not quite as chatty as Misty Clinton, though. Oh, hey, Micro. He wants to be full screen. Yeah, the trouble is I can't reach the keyboard. I do that. Alright, we need a... Now that we've done all that and I've tested to see if the CPU is dead or alive, it seems like it's a chance it's alive. And we've cleared away the possible short inducers. So now it's a case of seeing if we get anything out of it. I do have a cat sensor. It's called Elita. She wakes up, she opens up the door and says, Milo's been calling for you. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's not a very good cat sensor. Oh, the scope has, oh, right. Yeah. There are a couple of sensors I would like to add to this setup, but time. Time and time and time. Okay, let's see how we go. Yeah, straight away into a reset. So we've either got a hefty short somewhere or... Doesn't even try to get started on that one. Come on, man, don't do this to me. Ah. This is why normally it's good behavior to actually screw down one of the plates. Oh, where'd the second plate go? Oh, it's still attached to the USB-C. Do you have any ends breaking on the USB-C multimeter adapters? Oh yeah, I mean, there's a couple of models where they just break all the damn time. I decided to try one of these new ones, these ones here. I gotta admit, because I saw Lewis using them, and I figured if they managed to stick around at his shop for more than a month, then they must at least be reasonably durable. When you're going to replace that troublesome cap, I will, if I can actually show that the board is okay. If the board is not okay, then there's not much point. I did test the cap, and wow, this is nothing. Alright, we've definitely got well, I shouldn't say definitely. We most likely have a heavy short. Dead is actually a pretty good thing in many ways. Alright, so that one there looks perfectly good. A little smidge of something there on the MOSFET, but it's in the whole one side of the foot, so that shouldn't be a problem. If I had to guess, maybe these guys, but they're not normally part of that system, but we'll trial it. We'll trial it. Continuity mode on. Okay. They're good. Let's check the fuses connected. Yeah, fuse is good. Let's check quickly these ones. Okay, they're all part of the same net anyway. Yeah, that's pretty bad. and it's persistent, so it is not just a whoops. Sometimes you got to hold out when you're doing continuity testing or beep testing, because sometimes it can just be the energy in the circuit feeding back into the multimeter to make it think that it's actually a short, but it's not. And so if you hold out for a few seconds, you should see the resistance start rising up and taking you out and displacing you and replacing you with, oh, look at these caps. Yeah, look at them. They're pretty bad. I wonder if we'll find that that cap is on the same rail as those. We'll find out shortly. Oh no, Lewis is not upgrading from his ancient old version. The only way that's going to happen is if someone does it without him realizing. Although he's on Linux, so maybe I can get him to change now. What is this? This is 1814, I think. 1814, whatever it is. Or is it 1041? I don't know. Honestly, this is why I have Google and books and notes, because I don't bother to remember this stuff. What's the point? Okay, PP3V3. Oh, that's RTC though. Okay, and okay, it's not these ones, but that's also PP3V3. Lewis will be using Ubuntu. No harm in that. He wants to get stuff done, not sit around all day trying to make stuff happen. Yeah, wonder if that's the culprit there. There's a bit of fizzing in that one. See how that's fizzing up there? Or had fizzed up? Kind of makes me wonder whether that was the culprit. I'll plug the power back in. Oh, you can't see, damn it. I'll plug the power back in and see if we get any more fizzing coming out of that. Yep, there we go. Bzzz. That was a lucky find. I wasn't even looking for that, but I just noticed that that kind of appearance is not normal. Like, you sort of get to know the byproduct or the after effects of when you wash a board, what to sort of expect. And I know that that kind of fine bobbly kind of looked like someone dropped a what we call a loogie on there, but yeah. So I don't know whether it's pretty sure it's the cap, but yeah, we'll see. I was about to embark on a great journey, and it may be that I'm already there. Why don't you ask Lewis to try the newest version of Virtual Machine? Well, that's actually a good idea, Catherine, yeah. The stupid thing is... Yeah, that's shorted. The stupid thing is, with Flex Board View, you can actually have multiple concurrent versions on your system, well, Windows, Mac, you just have them in the different folders because it's running directly from within the folder. It's not an installed app as such. So he can have version 1060, 1210, and 1410 all in 3 separate folders, and just run them according to what he wants. He doesn't. There's no actual install process. Yeah, so that's a bit of freakishly lucky find there. We're just gonna somehow get that cap off without destroying everything. Yeah, a bit of electrolysis there. No, Stuart, you don't realise he's not going to get rid of it, because if he gets rid of it, he's got no reason to complain to me. And Lewis lives for complaining. And there's no greater complaint than complaining about an Australian. Hey B-Dog, evening. Thank you, Joseph King. Hey Steve B. Hey Warren. Let's see if we can get this off with the blob out method. I have a feeling we're not going to quite have the thermal capacity for it, but we'll try. And if this doesn't work, we'll add some assistive heat, which I think we're going to need. Yeah. We're only going 250. It's enough. Just make sure I don't eat that cap that's on the board under it. There we go. I want that cap, man. Oh. The reason why I want the cap is I want to see if it is physically damaged. I sort of messed it up a little bit, moving it around, trying to get it off the tip. Well, at least we can test to see if we've got a short status or not. It may be that the cap was fine, and in fact it's actually the MOSFET that's shorted. 1147 is pretty old. We've got 1410 now, which is much nicer. Okay. And we no longer have a short, so it was that cap. We'll also go back and check that CD3215 cap, this one over here. I use Fluxbox. Alright. We still actually have the short on there as well. So we've got multiple shorts on this board. Yeah. Well, it won't be under there. Thought it bought a new... No, yeah, you should be able to get 1410. It should be fine. It should... Yeah, 1410 should be... Unless you ran into some sort of... Sometimes there's a problem with the IMGUI engine and it causes it to do a scroll bar less than 0 error. But I have found a fix for that. Alright, I need schematics. Because that... ended up not quite correct. And alright, so this rail is everywhere. It's coming out of the U7800, unfortunately. I really doubt it's one of these. Yeah. I certainly doubt it's that cap. It's too clean. It's not going to be the resistors. Yeah, I don't know where this one's going to be. We can try put the thermal camera on it. Okay, Travis, take care. Opens and crashes. Alright. You should get a Flexboard View log file when you crash. But I can sort that out. Okay, what we're going to go for here is to see if we can pick up a heartbeat. There is a chance that this will be periodically trying to start and it'll shut back down. It'll start, shut back down. I'm hoping. Because I'm lazy. And when you're lazy, you start falling back on hope as a tool. Hope and luck. And let me guess, this is flat now? I hope not. Ah! Freaking bug in the eye. It seems a little bit dramatic, I agree, but believe me, we do have some bugs here that can make you feel like you've gone blind. They are that incredibly painful. And they're tiny things, but my goodness, they pack a punch. A terrifying punch. How's Loki doing? Catherine, please. Yeah. No. Sorry, my paranoia there. My superstition paranoia. No, Loki doesn't do that anymore. So, yeah. I'm going to have to get you to not mention that again, because it makes my blood pressure go up. It takes me a very long time to recover from when they do actually get out, and the last time that he did was in excess of 2 years ago now, and yet I still panic most mornings when I get up. I, do a check to see where everybody is, and if I cannot find him on the first round, then it is very hard for me to control the rising panic, all because of that event. Unfortunately, in a war scenario, there are people who get terrible shell shock, and there are people who just seem to cope with it. I'm going to be one of those ones with the terrible shell shock. No, it's okay. I'm just letting you know why I seem to be overly dramatic about it. Oh crap! I wasn't watching. Anyone see anything come up? Yeah. Wait. There we go. I saw it. There. Bimp. That's our little beacon of hope. Bimp. There we go. That is so cool. Can anyone see that? Yes. No. No one can see it. Ah. There we go. I'm blaming Catherine. You can tell that's not a lot of heat because the residual heat from where my hand was resting actually drowns it out until it, just only while it does that main peak. So yeah, we do have a heartbeat fault there. Just over here. Come on, man. There we go. Ping, ping. Okay. Get him a collar with a bell. You know what I would actually really love is if we could, because they do have the chips in them, so it'd be nice if I could find something that had the ability to detect the presence of them and read off from a reasonable distance. I'd say anything up 2 meters would be ideal, but it is actually very hard to pick up RFIDs in bodies more than a short. Oh, and guess what? It is one of those 2 caps that I was thinking. That's weird. Hey, 555. The big problem with dogs, you can do it. With cats, it's a lot harder because the size of GPS, even the smallest of GPS and things like that, is still quite small. Still quite large. So, yeah, it's a bit difficult. But with dogs, that's easier. I'm just going to work on, there's a couple of factors I use to keep them in. I get them a little bit fat so that they can't jump up as well. And you just basically keep them happy. If you can keep them happy, and once they're older than about 2 or 3 years, that intense urge for them to try and explore outside of the fence drops off dramatically. Obviously they're de-sexed as well too. A microchip reader, yeah. Yeah, if you could get a microchip reader within about a 2 meter radius, an RFID. But the trouble is, most of them really only do about. Most of them are almost contact. Very few are more than a foot away. So, apart from hitting them with these continuous pulses, like radar strength pulses, Tim Herman would know all about that. It's probably not an option. No, Ed, yeah, you're right. I care extensively about them. And oh wow, how did I miss those? Look at that, that's a complete... This all will definitely need fixing. How did I miss that? I got distracted by these ones, which are a lesser job. Anyway, they will need fixing too. Chihuahuas, oof, no. I know they're great dogs for many people, but definitely not me. I am not a Chihuahua man, sorry. The neighbour's got a couple, which I must say is a better choice for them compared to what they used to have. So I applaud them for making that change. What'd Steve K do? I never really had the fear or that anxiety response until I lost Jinx. Jinx was my first cat as a married man, or as an adult really. And thank you to iRepair if you're on this channel. iRepair, if you're on this channel, you can stick your hand up and I'll thank you. Anyway, I didn't have this kind of response until Jinx. He was a very difficult tabby cat. You know, he was very angry. It was a lot of work to get to settle down and things like that. But by the time he was about 8 years old, he started to really become a very lovely cat. And yeah, back then this area was very quiet. But unfortunately, one morning, for whatever reason, he was not where he was supposed to be, and unfortunately I found him on the road. And since then, you know, I just will not have them out. And I mean, you shouldn't really anyway have them out and about. But originally, was a very quiet area, and he would only stick around the house. No matter where I went, he would be there within 30 seconds. In fact, that was a bit of a problem with him. You couldn't stand outside for more than a few seconds before him coming up and trying to grab on your leg and getting angry with you. You would actually try to find a way for him not to find you. Anyway, so yeah, that was untimely, too early, all that sort of stuff. And I just, you know, from then, it was only a couple of weeks after that the vet clinic phoned us up and said, look, you know, we've got this batch of kittens, do you want to come and have a look at them? And I was like, are you kidding? You know, I've just lost my mate, my fur kid. But we went down anyway, and that's where we picked up Micro. And so that was a very fortunate thing. And so when we had Micro, it was like, that's it, I'm not taking that risk ever again. And that was the start of the great fence building situation. And I mean, we do have plenty of land. We've got heaps of land. So we've got about half an acre here. It's more than ample. Okay, B-Blood, enjoy your work. Best of luck with it. Oh, Joseph, that's a terrible joke. Abito, you have a dog named Jinx. Oh, that's cool. I think also what was painful with the naming of Jinx. Yeah, Jinx is something here in Australia we say if you both say something at the same time or there's a coincidence, you know. And I already named Jinx before I even got Jinx. I didn't know what cat I was going to get. We were just going to go down to the pet store at that time. And yeah, I'd already pretty much decided, well, whatever he is, I'm going to call him, you know, whatever it is, I'm going to call him Jinx. And I walked into the store, and as soon as I walked in, I spotted this one rambunctious crazy looking tabby cat. And I thought, that's Jinx. And my wife is desperately trying to tell me not to get that one because she can tell that he is going to be trouble. And so she's trying to defend the house, the sanity, but I'm just like, nope, too late, I'm locked on. And she's like, what about this cute little one? And I'm like, no, I'm focused on this terrifying little one. Anyway, it turns out that his birthday was the same as my birthday. And so that was the jinx, the fact that we ended up having the same birthday. So it took me a long time, a very long time to get over that one. Now, it's taking me even longer time to try and fix this board because I'm talking too much. People don't come here for the talking, they come here for the board repair. Jinx was one of Top Cat's gang. Oh, right, okay, I didn't know that. Alright, so I've just got to see what these caps are in terms of replacing them. 10 microfarad, 6.3. They're both 10 microfarad, 6.3s. Hey, David 3008. Let's see, 1115 and OpenGL1 works. The latest one. Why? What have you got for a system, Jason? OpenGL3 should work. In fact, you know, I'm at the point where I'm contemplating just removing OpenGL1 support because almost nobody uses it, but GL3 should. Everybody should have that by default. Are you using AMD card in your machine by chance? Okay, I need a 402 10 microfarad. 402. I'm really not in the mood to pull this from a donor. A new Dell. Oh wow, jeez. Well, so much for my hopes there. Then I was going to be able to blame you. Huh. 10 volt, 10 microfarad. It's slightly over spec. 10 microfarad, 6v3. Here for the cats. Well, you don't get much in the way of the cats. You get me talking about them. You don't get much of them. Lewis has got plenty more cat action. We will be fixing that once we've got this new fence up and we start building the new enclosure for them, the shed. Then once that's done, we will put cameras in there and live stream what they're up to. It's a bit like at night time we run YouTube throughout the night just on those sort of low impact, quiet background type videos. Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that new Dell. I'll have to have a look at that. Holy crikey, that burnt my fingers something serious. No, don't tombstone, you little... And then finally, the wildlings may actually earn their way, as it were, instead of just being financial succubuses on us. That's the theory. That's the theory. It probably won't work out that way. Alright, so let's see now if this was in fact connected. Yep. As theorized, they were on the same net. They were just aliases of the main 3v3. And now we've got to fix up this over here, because this is genuinely bad news in many ways. Definitely that top cap's a dead end, and whatever that is needs to be removed. Yep. I got a cough. Alright. Bit of random trash in the lungs there. She'll be right, mate. Sometimes I talk too much and I get a little dry. Learn not to spill coffee on a laptop. Where's that? Is some good skill. Yep. Definitely recommend that one. Steve, are you fighting a war there about something? Well, popping. You hear that pop noise? Don't like it when I hear that noise. Okay, that cap's gone. This here definitely needs... Something is completely rice bobbling away in there. Going snap, crackle and pop. I think I might lift this and have a look. Oh, that'll be it. Yep, I think I just made toasted coffee. Alright, let's get this cleaned up. Hey Nick from the UK. How are you guys going over there with your COVID lockdowns? It's funny, people ask me about how Australia's coping with their severe lockdown stuff. We really do not have a severe lockdown here. There are some areas in Australia which definitely are under hard restrictions, but 90% of Australia is free and fine. It's a big place. I don't think I can reuse that chip, so I hope I can find a replacement. Okay, those pads look pretty good. I'm going to be disappointed if this doesn't work at the end. I feel like I've put in at least a moderate amount of work. Yeah, there's corrosion on the edging there, so it's not good. Alright, let's find out what that part was. And that's this thing over here. Yeah, Jim, I kind of do too. Oh, it's an A1990. Oh, I actually did buy them though. I knew it. I knew it. I actually won, I think. I bought INA 210s, or at least I'm pretty sure I bought the 210 version, because I also need the... There's another one that they use in the M1 boards now. Come on, where are you? Yes! Niemand. Looks like I canned the camera on the schematic view. That's okay. Nice scope. Yeah. INA 210. Must have been mandated again in the UK. Okay. I still wear mine when I go downtown. To be honest, I probably would still keep... I'm still going to keep wearing mine long after the pandemic is over, if it ever gets over. But the main reason being is because even if, you know, say I'm not worried about catching COVID or anything like that, there's enough of other crap going around that I don't want to catch that crap either. What think about no clean flux? I think no clean flux you still need to clean. I think it's a little bit of a misnomer. And I think the scary thing is that it leads a lot of people to, well, I shouldn't say a lot, it leads some people to leave large globs of flux on the boards, thinking, that's okay, I can just leave that there because it's a no clean. It will eventually still cause damage. Hey Luke Davis. Yeah, just still wash it off. I think about the only time that you can probably get away with no clean flux and not cleaning is when you're, say it's part of the solder, and you just, working on, say, oh man, how are you supposed to, oh there, I was going to say, how are you supposed to know which pin one is, and I can just see the dot there. What was I going to say? Yeah, if you're doing pin through legs and you're just using stick solder to solder them on, you can often get away with that. Partially because the density of what you're working on is a lot less. But for surface mount, man, I smell. I need to finish that, but unfortunately I've just Batman myself. Batman smells, whatever, yeah, okay. Oh, that turned to toffee and then it turned nasty. That is nasty. Flu infections have dropped by 90%. Yeah, exactly, Joseph, that's exactly it. And around this town, or in fact most places, people are very cavalier with spreading thing. Yeah, they're just, I've got the sickness, whatever they've got, the flu, cold, whatever. I don't care. I'm down the shop here because my damn kids won't go out and do the shopping for me. And so these people just walk around going, coughing, spluttering, spreading. And for years, no one does anything about it. It's like, oh, crikey, you think, that's it, I'm going to be next, I'm going to catch this one. But now with the fact, at least in Australia here and, probably other countries, we've got a little bit more acceptance, or the opportunity for acceptance, in wearing masks. So if you do go downtown and you're wearing a mask, people are going to be like, oh yeah, they're just wearing a mask, whatever, no big issue. Whereas in the past it'd be like, what are you doing? What sort of freak are you? And not that it should matter. If you really care about your health, you just do these things. But it'd be nice to not have to have the added weight of the social, turning into a social leper. It'll never be over. I agree, it basically will never be over. It'll just become another seasonal type or periodic type thing. Now, that is not sitting on properly. I think the problem is with things like COVID, is like the influenza, it's essentially impossible to completely wipe it out. There's always going to be a pathway, that it finds to get a host or to adapt and things like that. Because the fact that things like influenza and the cold are so good at being little... what is going on here? Son of a... Okay, basically what the problem is, I need more solder on those pads. Yeah, those particular type of viruses, they're so good at adapting and mutating. I shouldn't say adapting because they're not consciously adapting, they're just mutating at such a rate that they manage to stick around. Whereas things like measles, chickenpox, etc., they aren't so good at that. It's not possible to kill a virus. Actually, it's very easy to kill viruses. You just douse them in bleach or formaldehyde or anything like that. I guess what you really meant to say is, and I know you mean this, is you can't really do it in the body too easily. You have to rely on the body to do it. It's a bit like cancer, dead easy to kill cancer. You just bleach or formaldehyde. But not so easy when it's in the body and you don't want to kill the host. Joseph King, 1990, moved from corporate IT to schools, and within 5 months I got hit hard. Spent 6 days in bed, 40-degree temp. Never got sick again for the next 16 years. Well, that's actually pretty good going. Yeah. Schools are, of course, children are, of course, naturally a very convenient or very popular vector for a lot of these things. I mean, kids mingle with each other, they don't hold back or anything like that, and then they take it to their parents. Hey, Mum, Dad, I've got a nice new thing for you to feel sick about. So it's the schooling system is very convenient for that. Alright, let's see if we do any better. Actually, I might just cool it off a bit. Yeah, it was funny they dropped the she one. Common last name. We know exactly what they were trying not to do, but yeah. Norton 360 has proved it can't kill a virus. No, that's because Norton 360 is a virus. I miss the days when Norton were actually a set of tools that you wanted to have on your machine. That's, of course, back in the 80s. Not so much now. Alright, let's see, here we go. Staying on. And we got 20 volts. And we got 250, 300. Ooh. I think it does drop and then comes back up. We'll see. Nope. We've got ourselves another short somewhere. Son of a gun. 20, 200, 79, 0. So it sort of goes up and then goes down to 0. Yeah, I don't like that. Don't like that at all. That'll be the big pee-pee bus somewhere. I guess we can try thermal it. Like I said, I'm a bit lazy tonight. Yeah, schools are a petri dish for sure. Schematics. See how this goes. Nothing's jumping. It's at 20 volts, 250. Nothing's jumping. So it's either at the other end of the board or it's the other side. We'll try the other side first. Do Linux machines need virus scanner? Technically, yes. You can't. Well, I should say technically, yes, you can get viruses on Linux. But realistically, no. Well, wherever this is, it's not popping up. That's kind of concerning to me. Not getting any heat in the CPU, so that's kind of a good sign. Just make sure this one doesn't have coffee all through it. I had a machine the other day that would do 20 volts, then 0, and it was a very intense short. on the main PV bus. But the trouble is that was happening immediately. There was no run of 250 milliamps or anything like that, whereas this is doing a 250 milliamp and then stops. Yeah, so it's concerning me a little. $20 volts. Nothing there. Where are you going, 20 volts? Try the side. It kind of worries me. It's either in the it's either in the actual main board, which is going to be really bad, or is the CPU. I've just got to find my thermal insulating system. Yeah, this looks like standard heat up. Standard heat up and then shut down. Then it blooms out. So those parts are heating up as they should. Clam AV, that's the open source one. I used to contribute to that. Oh no, I think we've got a. I think we might have a solid a drive short. Yeah, I have a feeling that the actual SD RAMs are damaged, which is unfortunately common. Hey Kotas. Just going to switch it off. Okay, switch back on. Switch off. Did you leave one resistor off the last repair area? No, that was a cap. Yeah, this really does feel like that we have a problem in the SD RAMs, the flash. Because if it was a shorted cap or something like that, you should get, for an instant at least, a very distinct transition of the crosshairs to a new location. Basically like you saw before when we had the pulsing. But it's not going anywhere. It's all the heat is going into the chips like it's booting normally, but then it gets shut down. Hey, was that even active then? Alright, that's not even... That kind of helps if you turn it on, eh? Yeah, so you can see the CD32 picking up its heat, doing its job, and then that there, which is, you know, I think PCH or whatever it is, that does its job. So yeah, the stages are coming up, but then they shut down. New Flexboard view is working, new graphics driver. And did you have an AMD or an NVIDIA? So I think given that it's past 1 o'clock, I'm going to have to walk away from this one for the moment, for tonight, because I find that it's not a good idea to keep working on this sort of thing past, you know, midnight or so. Yeah, fine if it was a 1466 and we're doing a backlight repair or something like that, but when you're dealing with this sort of outcome potential, it's not a good idea. I would, yeah, I'm pretty sure the CPU's fine, but it's these SD-RAM chips. Something's gone wrong with one of them, which doesn't surprise me. Like for instance, where was it? So like all this coffee was up here, and it got onto some of the discrete parts around it. It could have easily put a bunch of voltage we don't want on there. So Intel UHD, okay, well that definitely should have been working. Definitely should be going with 3G up, OpenGL3 for sure, definitely. Firephone, yeah, renovations are fun. We've got a major clean-up process that we've got to do after a spillage from the burst water pipe in the kitchen. The water's cleaned up, but there's after effects that I'm going to have to deal with, so I'm going to be buying some more equipment tomorrow to deal with that, and also do the fencing for the new cat enclosure. So anyway, I am going to leave it at that. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for all for listening to my rants, and I might see you tomorrow. Until then, you all take care. I'll see you next time.